Hey everyone, Zachary here, and welcome to another episode of Pointy Chins, where I take you through my art journey. So, picking up where we left off, I was getting very scribbly, and I was talking about how it felt like there are styles that are clashing, and the more I was doing this, the more it felt like one style from one personality. I mentioned before that I had different personalities and they sort of disappeared. They went away and I was just left as one personality. But different personalities seem to be emerging. And I would say this one seems to be, the scribbly thing seems to be more like one of my personalities called the narcissistic and the way he would draw. So I started to think of it that way. You know, like, oh, there is a personality, and these are just compositions, but there's a personality that hasn't come out in a long time, and I haven't been drawing in that style. And now it's asserting itself. And one of the reasons I think was because I actually made a video where I revealed my, well, first of all, it was something that was happening anyway. But then I made a video where I talked about my story, and it felt like that helped. Or maybe that's why. It was because there was more of this personalities coming out, and I felt like I needed to explain things and be more open with who I am and, you know, my story and stuff. So here's just some figure drawing, but I think I kept it at 2 minutes or 1 minute or something. Trying to do it faster. And keep them smaller. And that's sometimes a good idea to get when you're focusing on gesture and you want to get a lot of things done quickly, just draw them smaller. And so, yeah, I was thinking about, okay, maybe this is a personality sort of emerging, and that's why I'm switching styles and more figure drawing. And I felt like if that's the case, then I should let this happen and see what happens. Because if it is some part of me that's coming out that hasn't been expressed in a long time, that's only a good thing, even though it feels painful and it feels difficult. So yeah, noticing that he draws differently. And it might be a strange saying he for just another part of me, but that's how it feels. It feels very different. And I feel like my style is the Pointy Chin style, but when he draws, it's his own thing. And we are not in agreement over things. Like, I think his thing is okay, but not great. And he thinks my thing is, I wonder what he thinks. I'm not sure what he thinks of my thing, but I don't think he likes it that much. So this is more like how he would draw K. And it's sort of the way I would do it, but not quite. And so, you know, more figures. This guy looks just an imagination thing, but it reminds me, I think I was trying to do a bit of a Zaraki, Kenpachi tribute. And then I started looking at, because I was talking about Kei's shoes and how they don't look graceful. And then I noticed that a lot of pole dancers wear these super high heels as well. And I thought maybe I can learn something by doing studies of pole dancers, because they have those things and they have to look graceful and stuff. So just trying to get a sense of, well, you know, can this help me in terms of K? And so continuing on with it. And I just thought they looked really cool. And when they did these spins around the pole, it was like the professional ones anyway, the ones that it's more of an art form, more like dance. I thought it just looked really cool, like the motions they were doing and stuff. It's like, wow, that's impressive. So again, you know, drawing scribbly, and this is kind of cool. I like that energy that's in there. Yeah, more of the same. It's harder for me really to comment on drawings where I wasn't as present, because that's cool how he did that. But it's because I don't feel like I have those thoughts. I don't know what I was thinking when I drew these. And so it's more of an outside observer. But anyway, what happened then is I started looking at Kay's outfit, and, well, me, but the narcissistic was criticizing it. He really didn't like the outfit I gave Kay. So I was thinking, like, well, why don't you draw your own version? Like, what do you think could be improved on? And he started doing a bunch of sketches of different ideas, and basically using iterative drawing, but, trying to come up with different solutions. And he came up with this, and he thought this was interesting. And I think it looks interesting, but it has nothing to do with, like, Kay's design and the space waitressy thing and the fun, simple thing. And I brought that up with him, and his response was, I don't care. Like, I don't care about your space waitress. I just want to draw cool things, and I want to see cool things, and I don't want to be drawing designs that I don't like. So then, still he's working on his own design for Kay, or redesign or whatever, and coming up with different solutions. I don't know, I kind of like some of the choices he's making. They make sense, but anyway. And then he started doing this stuff, like these shapes where it goes around and it's got this sharp spiky thing. And whereas I was having straighter lines, he has these curved lines that still resolve in points, but they're more curvy and pointed. See, like that, curves and points. Just trying different, shapes, and this thing where it goes around and it points, but then there's a hollow here in the design. And so started running with that, changing the outfit and trying different hairstyles as well. And I don't really like any of these, but there's something. At least he's experimenting here. Whatever. Anyway, and then I like this one for the glove, because he changed the glove how it is, and like, okay, so you have that little thing. And maybe it's like that, but I didn't really like it as much. And then I thought she could have like a tattoo of Yummy Company, like a brand on her wrist, because maybe they do that, and it's a way of showing like we own you. And then here's like instead of the jacket, it turned into this thing where it's not quite a jacket, but I don't know. And then here, thinking of different shapes for it, like that area. And I don't know, he was thinking of giving her like a sword, because he likes swords. And it's like, oh, just give her a sword because I like swords. And it's really hard to argue with him because he doesn't listen to me and respect me at all. Whatever. But the back thing, trying to design it. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. He does things way more intuitively than I do. Trying to think of like, okay, what does this thing look like if it is this shape? What does it look like in 3D, and spin this form around? I had a lot of trouble with this, drawing this and understanding like, what does this look like spun around? So I got some help in actually taking a marker and drawing on drawing this, and then taking photos of real life and whatever. You gotta do what you gotta do to learn art. Here I was doing a tutorial for like a simplified anatomy, and I was trying to figure out, well, okay, I draw with simplified anatomy, but what components do I think about? Because I don't really think in terms of this. I've just memorized it. So I started thinking, trying to outline all the areas that I think of with the figure. And then here's just more trying to figure out, what do I do about these? Because she had these two spiky things, but they stopped looking good with the design changes. So it's like, how do I resolve that? And, do I have these big V-shaped things? What do I do about these? I don't know what they're called, like stocking thigh things. And then here I did some drawing from figure drawing websites, but then I did them really, maybe it was 2 minutes, maybe it was a minute, I don't know, probably 2 minutes. But then I added detail after the fact, so that I made this guy into a character and grabbing toilet paper, and this person's like a Super Saiyan because he was in this pose, and it's like, just give him the hair. Just adding my own story to some of them. And then here I was still working on the K designs and thinking about, okay, you have a pelvis and it's got a pelvis here and ribs here, and the ribs have this sort of triangle to them, and the pelvis has this sort of triangle, and you've got like S shapes, and following the shapes of the body that they naturally make. So here I was thinking, okay, you've got this triangle for the ribs, this triangle for the pelvis, and you've got like the butt, which I guess is a circle, but you've got this cut in it, which is sort of like a crescent moon shape, and then you've got this shape of the thigh, and that sort of has this shape to it, and then you have this shape for the calf, and that has that shape to it, and then combining different shapes. I didn't like this one at all, but this one seemed like, yeah, that's nice, the way this combines, and it's like, yeah, that's fine. And then this one, it felt too, like, this one felt fine, and this one felt too, it didn't feel right. And I asked Flavia why she thought this wasn't as good, and she said it's because it breaks the form of, like, this butt has a larger surface area or something. I don't know. She was talking about how it breaks the form and it changes the rhythms. And then I kept thinking, how do I figure out this area of, see here, where it's got that sharp thing, and then here were those two triangles. See here, these like triangles. And then I did this shape, and I finally felt like here, first I did this, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like, it goes across this form, but I didn't get that at first. I just drew these, and like, that sort of works. And then I drew this thing where it follows this form, and then it's got these points to them, and it's like, it works, it's good, this looks good, this doesn't look so noobish. Whereas all of these just felt like weak. They're okay designs, but not great designs. And I really wanted it to be better, not just, oh, this is okay. So yeah, drawing, whatever. And I gave her a sword and playing around what it would look like if she had a sword and what she would do with them and different poses. And yeah, just random faces, because I get bored now of drawing K, and then I try to do different things. And then this came as a bit of a horror to me, but I saw C.T. Chrysler, and I'm aware of his work, and he has a character called Annie Mae, and I looked at her outfit, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, this looks very much like K, but he made his character way before anime. He made his anime character, Annie Mae, way before I made K, and I'm sure I've seen it before, and so I thought, like, oh, I must have gotten subconsciously influenced, because it reminded me a lot of the outfit I had for K, and that was disappointing. But then I thought, you know what? He's better than me. Maybe I can learn from him instead of, just feeling like, oh, I ripped off whatever. It's like, no, okay, your character now can be not like his character, even if you did have some unconscious influence. So I thought, okay, let me learn how he does his stuff. And then I started thinking, like, yes, but none of these are my shapes. So I started creating more pointy shapes and just adding detail. Like, I noticed that about his, like, my stuff didn't have much detail, but his had a bunch of trim and extra lines everywhere and cut lines and seam lines and stuff. And so I just started adding details and creating, like, shapes like this. I started somewhere here and then just started building and adding extra stuff, like just stuff. And then here I realized that, yeah, it's just a lot about shapes. And then here I thought of some Japanese type vase or something, and I just created a rectangle, and I wanted to make a pattern that looked good on it. And I came up with this, and I thought, no, that's interesting how when you have a rectangle and then you have a diagonal opposing rhythm, it kind of looks cool, as opposed to when you, like this one really goes, you have this shape, this rectangular shape, and these are following that shape. But in this one, it's going against that. It's going diagonal to that rectangular shape. And I thought, that looks more appealing. That's cool. So then I just thought I would play around with this idea of basic shapes. Here's just a random thing, like maybe a shoulder thing, but having cooler shapes. And then just exploring graphic design. Like if someone just gave me a bunch of shapes. So first I just drew a bunch of these frames, and then I tried to fill them with things that are interesting and appealing and just good design. but very intuitive. But just trial and error and see what works and what doesn't. I did like this one. And this one I thought, yeah, it's okay. And this one I felt like this is nice, and then it goes here, but then this it breaks it. It doesn't look good. Like it would have been better if it followed the form a bit more. Yeah. So, thinking in terms of, I guess it must look stupid from the outside, or if you don't quite follow the reasoning behind it, it might seem like, why are you just drawing random stuff? Why don't you draw good things like figures or something? But I think this is actually, even though I think these are fails, they're really important to get a sense of shapes and designs. Because I've mentioned this so many times, but when you have good shapes, it's going to look appealing. Even if it's wrong. If it's right, it looks good. If it's wrong, it still looks okay. But it's really what separates really good artists from artists that, they might have been drawing for a really long time, but they're just not at that level where you look at it and go, wow, and you're blown away. I mean, that's my personal opinion anyway. Maybe you are, but for me, it's like I really like artists who have a strong grasp of shapes. But I didn't know that at the time when I was younger. I didn't know that shapes was a thing. Like, you have to have appealing shapes, and there are such things as appealing shapes and less appealing shapes, and rhythms and flows and things. Because books never really talked about this. They talked more about proportions and anatomy and perspective and stuff. But it's like, you can have all those things and still have really boring, not cool looking, stiff images. And then with animation, I learned about gesture. And then after that, I learned about, just from figuring it out, I learned about shapes. And, you can push shapes more. Like, I like this shape. It's a nice shape, and it resolves, and you've got negative space, and just more interesting stuff. Screamy guy. I guess, I don't know. It's not quite screaming. And then here I was doing the anatomy tutorial thing, and people were wondering, I created this simplified anatomy model, and they wanted to know, like, yeah, but can you do one for women? And I was thinking, it's the same thing. So I just drew a bunch of different figures and then made a anatomy model thing for them. And then random things, more abstract, but becoming comfortable with this. I'm starting to get used to drawing like this and being okay with the fact that maybe I don't have one style. Maybe I have like 2 or 3, definitely more than 3 actually styles. But maybe it's not bad. And allowing them to exist on the same page, for instance, and this guy, I don't know what happened to him. But like this, it's super simple, and it's not in the same style, but I actually really like it. Just stuff like this. It's like, that feels emotive. I feel like there's expression there. And I don't know. It's something that sort of makes me feel like, yeah, that's something that's good. And then here's, more figure drawing. Keeping it up. And then here, back to basic designs, just thinking of that thing with the, the thigh pattern. And if I could understand it more, and if I had a triangle, could I design it so it looked cool with like a indent, and what would be a cool indent? And then I started noticing this one looked cooler. And so I did this, and I realized, oh, that looks even cooler. And what had I done? I stretched it, and I made it much more curved. Like, this is very straight, see? And this is more curved. And then it's like, oh, you've got points and curves. And so that's what was going on, is just understanding more about, oh, okay, so these are appealing shapes. Like, I look at this, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty appealing. That's pretty cool as a shape of a thing, of a design. And I have this feeling that a lot of artists that are really good, they got this figured out. I don't know if they know intuitively, like if they only know it intuitively, or if they can actually explain it, and if they're just hiding it, because no one really seems to share this stuff. But I'm sharing it now. Hopefully you can get something out of it. And so finally, I still didn't really like her hairstyle with Kay, and I started realizing when I created Kay, when I, as in the passive, created Kay, I was treating it in a way of, I wanted the character to look good and to sort of be popular, and I was thinking a lot in terms of design and design elements, but I wasn't really doing it intuitively. I was doing it more through iteration. And when I ended up with the hair, it's like, well, she's got to sort of look like a space waitress, and but I started to think, like, I don't like, that's not my favorite type of hairstyle. And I thought, well, what is my favorite type of hairstyle? And why don't I just give her hair that I actually really like? So I was doing these, and I really like hair where it's over, like it's on one side. So you get to see the nape of the neck on one side, and then the other you get to see like longer hair. So I tried giving that to Kay, like this, and it's like, yeah, that's not bad. I don't hate that. And this one too. It doesn't really make sense here. I haven't figured it out, but it's like, I actually like that. That looks nice, and it still looks like Kay, and it still looks like it fits. And this one, I thought, yeah, that's cool. So just go with that. And here are some variations, which I don't think really worked, but yeah, it's good because it's starting to coalesce, and I'm starting to see the narcissistic's point in when he's drawing stuff, and it's like, no, it should be like this. I'm like, yeah, okay, you've got a point. So that's it for this month. Next month, I really hope things take off in a good way, and I don't know, I can figure stuff out more, and everything will come together. And if it's not going to happen in a month, at least it's going to be moving towards that direction. So, thanks for all your support. I really do appreciate everyone who's watching my videos and supporting me. And thanks for watching.